Welcome to the show, everyone. It's the Crypto Lark. Today, we're going to be talking about Ravencoin, a use case-specific blockchain which is designed to carry statements of truth about who owns what assets. Now, this has been getting a lot of press due to the Overstock CEO's very vocal support of the project, but we're going to be getting into just what Ravencoin does. After a quick shout out to everyone who's been hitting that like button, and of course, everyone who's been subscribing to the channel. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you hit that button down below or the bell to stay up to date with all of the latest in the crypto space. Furthermore, this is of course not professional financial advice. This is just a dude talking about cryptocurrencies on the internet. Ravencoin is a very interesting project. The white paper has just been released. It's full of Shakespeare and Edgar Allan Poe quotes about ravens, as well as Game of Thrones references. And of course, the very vocal support of Patrick Byrne over at Overstock has garnered a lot of attention for the project. As well, they have also made a very big investment into Ravencoin. But the project goes so much deeper than that. It's been developed by over 430 Bitcoin developers. There's currently over 14,000 commits for Ravencoin on GitHub, which is very impressive. This has been built on a fork of the Bitcoin code, which will open it up for atomic swaps and the Lightning Network in the future. It's very focused on being fairly issued and fairly distributed. There has been no pre-mine, there has been no ICO. It's being mined publicly and transparently using a proof of work mining algorithm. In fact, they've developed the X16R algorithm for Ravencoin. Ravencoin essentially has been designed for one specific function, and it's been designed to do that one function very well, and that is the transfer of assets from one party to another party. Now, these assets are tokens that can be issued by users of the Raven protocol. They don't need to be mined. Users of the Raven protocol can essentially create these assets and decide basically their purpose, the rules of them. They can look and choose a name for it, a denomination, a purpose, how these assets essentially are going to function. Now, they'll have a unique symbol, a limited quantity. They'll be transferable to any Ravencoin address. Now, the assets that are created on the Raven protocol have a few advantages. Of course, ease of usability is what they're aiming for, but they'll also be very tightly integrated with the Ravencoin. And of course, they'll be secured via the fair, but also very secure proof of work mining. And of course, it'll be an open source code aiming to be a decentralized project. Let's break down some of the use cases of Ravencoin, because there's so many different assets that can be tokenized. And this is not just real world assets, but this is also, of course, digital assets. Real world assets, you might think of something as simple as gold bars or silver coins, maybe euros, but also other very interesting things. Rare comic books, for example. What if you're starting a company? Well, instead of issuing out physical stock certificates that, yes, have dividends and yes, would be securities, you could instead use Ravencoin to issue out those stocks or shares of a company, and of course very easily give out the dividends to anyone investing in your company. Maybe you want to start a co-op. Maybe you want to do royalty sharing. If you're a musician or a film producer, you could very easily incorporate Raven tokens to issue out royalties. Maybe do crowdfunding, virtual goods. Now, this could be tickets to sporting events or to concerts, and of course the very easy ability to resell those if, for example, you get ill and you can't go to the concert anymore. Maybe we could also see in-game currencies for popular video games, perhaps even more importantly, in-game items, some kind of exotic swords in an RPG, for example. Or maybe you have some kind of a credit like airline miles or credit card rewards points. Those could again be tokenized. Now, token names will be unique based on a first come, first serve basis. But there's so many interesting applications to this. The payment of rewards or dividends will happen in that native token. But it's a very powerful thing for companies to be able to actually issue out these dividends in a very easy, seamless way. Then there are also unique tokens. Now these would be one-of-a-kind items. Now that could of course be that rare game sword in RPG. This could also be digital art. For example, we saw that the guys over at Gifto, for example, had the $1 million rose. Well, Ravencoin could do something similar. Of course, we also have the situation of messaging. Now, let's say you are that company and you've issued out your stocks, but you want to communicate to the stockholders. Well, you can use Ravencoin for one-way messaging, so you can communicate out to people, but they can't communicate back. Now, there will only be certain people who will be able to communicate within that, as to avoid it being a spam conduit. But nevertheless, that is a very powerful feature of what Ravencoin is developing. You can think about newsletters, you can think about nonprofit organizations or some kind of activist organizations communicating with their audiences as an example. And of course, let's take it back to the company stock example. Maybe you need to hold a vote on an important decision for the company. Well, you can do that with Ravencoin too. You can issue out a vote token, and that can be used to really connect with your shareholders in a very powerful way, which isn't really possible with traditional stocks. As mentioned, Ravencoin is a fork of the Bitcoin code, but there are a lot of key changes which are really important to point out. The blocks are every minute. Of course, they've changed the number of coins issued. There'll be a total of 21 billion Ravencoin in the end. Of course, that is based on mining rewards, so it will take quite a long time to get to that number. This is an open source project. The mining algorithm X16R is really intended to prevent dominance by mining pools, and it's intended to prevent the dominance of ASIC mining equipment. So it's really aiming to be as decentralized as possible. Looking at the roadmap and some of the highlights from that, they're working, of course, on ASIC resistance, on bringing in that asset support. So in order to issue an asset on Raven, you will need 500 Raven coins to issue an asset, and those 500 coins will be burned. That's a very important thing to note, because if they're burning these coins and a lot of assets are being issued, well, that 21 billion number could very quickly change, of course. Of course, transfers of assets from one Ravencoin address to another Ravencoin address will, of course, need gas in the form of Ravencoin. Block size increase is something that is in the roadmap, so as Ravencoin gets more and more adoption, they're very happy to increase the block size. Of course, the rewards will change over time as well. Unique assets will cost 5 Raven apiece to issue, which again will be burned. And of course, you have the messaging and voting functions, which will be implemented in the future. So not all the features that we talked about today are actually operational yet. In fact, the majority of them are not. They're in the roadmap. They're under development. So we have to wait to actually see those being rolled out. So that is part of the critiques that you might want to look at with Ravencoin, is that everything they want to do hasn't actually happened yet, or many of the things they want to do haven't happened yet. So we do have to wait for them to roll it out. We might, of course, look at some legal problems of issuing securities. It might make Ravencoin, for example, more difficult to get listed on some key exchanges that are a bit afraid of coins that do issue out securities, like Ravencoin is proposing to do. Now, they do want to be jurisdiction agnostic, but the reality is that people still need to onboard money and to go buy things, and that may be a hindrance in the future. Ravencoin is a pretty cool name, to be honest, but will it actually gel with businesses? Will they like to invest in Ravencoin, or would they want something more businessy sounding? Of course, and what are the procedures in place to actually ensure the authenticity of these assets? If I go to Ravencoin, I spend my 500 Raven, and I say, okay, well, I'm going to make 1,000 gold bar tokens. Well, who's coming in to say I've actually got those gold bars? Who will be doing the vetting processes for the authenticity of assets? That remains to be seen, of course. And of course, there are a lot of other projects that are already kind of operating in this space a little bit. You might think like, oh, Zencash is doing private messaging. Well, yeah, but Zencash is a different project in a lot of different ways. They actually focus on quite a few different things. Maybe you want to think about Bytum, for example. They're working on bringing real world assets into the digital world, but they're also more focused on ASIC mining and then, of course, inherently centralization. Maybe we can think about Neo and their smart assets as well. But overall, this is a very interesting project. I wanted to show you a picture of Patrick Byrne holding his cat, looking like some kind of classical Bond villain in his bathrobe playing with his kitty. Because why not? If you want to pick up Ravencoin, it is going for 4 cents at the moment. Market cap is only $33 million, so there's a lot of opportunity for growth for Ravencoin. It's certainly an interesting project. The issuance of assets, the tokenization of assets, will be very big in the future. If they can make themselves a player in this space, then we do have a very bright future ahead indeed for Ravencoin, but they do have some challenges to overcome to get to that point. If you want to grab some Ravencoin, rock over to Crypto Bridge. We also have low liquidity right now with Ravencoin. I would imagine that as they do get listed on bigger exchanges, assuming that the securities issue is not an issue to getting listed on some of those exchanges, I think we will see some real price action increase on Ravencoin as the liquidity does increase. But those are just my 2 Satoshis. You guys let me know what you think about it in the comment section down below. Long live the blockchain, and peace out till next time.